Hello? I'm the person who manages things at the cemetery. Or you can just call me the cemetery manager. One part of my job involves meeting with guests and family members of those who have passed away to organize funerals, help with plot sales, and more. Let me tell you about a man named Jerry, who was in his 30s. He came to see me because his father was very sick and in hospice care. Jerry, a caring and spiritual guy with a strong accent, wanted to buy a plot for his dad. He shared pictures of his father, a sweet-looking man who seemed too young to leave his family. Unfortunately, Jerry's father passed away that same week. Jerry arranged the funeral at the cemetery. On the day of the funeral, the weather was stormy, but some believe that's a good sign. The funeral procession briefly stopped in front of the office building, and I went outside to the awning. I saw Jerry in the car behind the hearse, and we waved at each other. Because of the weather, I went back inside until the procession was ready to go to the burial site. I hopped into one of the cemetery trucks and followed the funeral procession to the final destination. My job involves overseeing things. I drove around the area in the truck, something I do a few times a day. With a stack of paperwork awaiting me, I also had to close the cemetery that night. The cemetery shuts down at 5:30. As darkness approached, I did one more round in the truck to make sure all visitors had left. Then, I headed to the front gate to close it. It was early March, and even though the days were still relatively short, the stormy weather made it feel like night had fallen early. While driving back to my office, I thought I spotted someone swiftly walking among the tombstones. They disappeared behind a hedge when I beeped my horn to signal that the place was closed. Oddly, I never saw them again. I quickly grabbed my umbrella and rushed out into the rain. I went in the direction where he turned at the hedge. There, I looked along a row of tombstones on one side and hedges on the other. No one was in sight. I searched in the rain for a good 20 minutes, but eventually, I had to give up. I drove back to the office and checked the footage. Unfortunately, there was no sign of anything unusual, and it was challenging to see clearly due to the storm and the pitch-black night. As I tried to multitask, keeping an eye on the camera while finishing my paperwork, I suddenly heard the front door to the visitation room slam shut. I quickly stood up and shouted hello. My immediate thought was that it might be the same person I had seen earlier. Perhaps they accidentally got stuck in the cemetery and needed help getting out. I stepped into the lobby, but there was no one there. I called out again, thinking maybe they left when the door slammed shut. I checked all the windows, and when I glanced out of one, I saw someone on the other side staring back at me with a blank expression. I startled, screamed, but they didn't react. Approaching cautiously, I squinted and realized it was an older Hispanic man I recognized from pictures Jerry had shown me of his father. My heart raced as I ran out of the building's front door towards the spot where I saw the man. But he had vanished. He wasn't sprinting into the fields or hiding in nearby bushes. He was simply gone. As I stood in the rain getting all wet, I glanced around. Quickly, I ran back inside, gathered my stuff, locked up, and went to my car. After opening and closing the gate one more time, I locked it and drove home. When I got home, my wife asked why I was so quiet. I simply said it was a long day at work. Looking back, I believe I was just working too hard, and my mind was messing with me. Still, it's kind of creepy to think about.